Welcome to Medical Confessions.
Your remedy for serious medicine. I'm Jen.
I'm April.
And I'm Scott. Today we're going to be talking about human pheromones and do they exist? Can we make each other attractive?
Attractive or be attracted to each other?
Well, yeah, be attracted to each other.
I'm pretty sure a certain amount of beer will make anybody attractive.
Yeah, this ugly isn't going to get fixed with smell, that's for sure. Oh.
Well, and I feel like this is one of those things that people kind of assume takes place and is real, but up until we discussed this episode, I never really thought too much about it, but then doing the research, it's pretty intriguing.
It is super exciting, I think, because it happens in the animal kingdom all over the place. And so does it happen in humans?
Yeah, so what's the deal? What are pheromones?
Well, a pheromone, actually, and here's the controversy if, it happens in humans or not, is the definition for a pheromone is so broad that it could encompass almost anything. So the actual definition is any substance which is secreted to the outside by an individual and received by another individual of the same species in which it releases a specific reaction. So the example of why that's such a broad term is if you've got a guy going into a subway and he's got two entrances. One of the entrances someone just puked in, the other one they didn't, and he chose the one that didn't. Is the vomit then the pheromone? I think most people wouldn't say a vomit's a pheromone, but that could make someone go around the other.
It takes all the glamour and mystery out of it when you use the word vomit.
Yeah. So the definition is really broad. Overall, what is out there right now is most likely humans, there are some pheromones that cause reaction in humans because there's tons of studies that say these things are happening, but no one's been able to actually do a study that identified a specific molecule that causes a specific reaction by a human. So let's just talk about pheromones in general. It's known in the animal kingdom that they happen all over the place. There's, the more common one that I like is boar's mate from pigs. Have you seen this one?
No, but you've mentioned it to me before. I haven't seen it, but yeah.
I want to try it one time just because it seems funny to make a pig do something sexual, I guess.
Just careful how you explain that. Explain further.
Not bestiality-wise, but... So a pig in heat, if you give them androstenone, is the steroid hormone. If you let the pig smell that, which pigs, males produce that in their saliva, so if a female pig smells that, they will actually get in the receiver's position, basically, for mating. Lordosis is the technical term, but that's that inward arching of the back and that,
like the
I'm ready.
dog position, basically.
The downward dog, yes. Let's do this. So it's a known thing that pig farmers, they'll give that to their pigs.
They'll do that, and it only works in pigs.
It actually, so funny story.
Oh, interesting.
If you want to go to PetSmart, you can actually get androstenone or boar's mate because there was a doc or a researcher from Texas Tech in like 2013, 2014 range that sprayed that on his dog, immediately stopped barking and pulling at his leash.
So let's go back then to your definition of a pheromone, because I remember you saying specifically in there that it was animals of the same species.
Yes.
So would that be a pheromone? Because now you're talking about cross-species reactions.
And these are some of the problems with the researchers and saying, what exactly is a pheromone? What exactly is just somebody smelling something, right?
Right.
Like, because it's always been known that you can pick out your loved one's smells, right? You can smell it on their t-shirt after they've died or whatever, or you can smell your...
want to help you through some of the wording today.
Well, you see it in movies all the time, like so-and-so died, I still smell them on
but
my shirt.
my husband's not dead, and I can still smell his shirt. I was like, doesn't have to be dead. It's in a dark place today.
Oh, yeah.
I need more coffee.
So the dog doesn't actually get into downward dog. It just helps control the barking.
No, it doesn't help with the mating and the dogs.
Barking.
But yeah, so funny story. So he actually did, after he did this with his own dog and it happened, he did this study and he did a nice control group that it wasn't the spray itself, it wasn't the act of spraying, it was simply this androstenone that caused the dog for about 60 seconds to immediately stop barking, stop pulling at the leash. And so in his study, 100% of the dogs that were given this stopped barking and stopped pulling on the leash. So you can get it at PetSmart right now.
So bad behaviors.
Yes.
Okay. So Does it work in dogs? Can I spray it in my husband's face and be like, pick up your shoes?
Or that episode of Sheldon. What's that?
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory, when Sheldon trains the girl to change her behavior with chocolates.
Yes, penny.
Yeah.
So only dogs, though. Was it tested on other animals?
So let's talk about that. We have some human pheromones here that if you guys would like to put on...
Did you see his giveaway face? So when you are up to something, you purse your lips a little bit and you're like, you give it away. You're up to no good right now.
This is why I'm not good at poker.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what this is going to
Horrible
do for
liar.
you ladies, but go ahead and put this on your upper lip and we'll just go ahead and have you smell this.
I can smell it,
During
but I
the
have
episode.
to put this on my upper
Yeah,
lip.
just spread it on your upper lip
Oh.
a
I
little bit.
already smelled it, and it doesn't smell good.
And then we'll
I'm
just...
not going to use
we'll
the
do this
applicator. I'm
episode.
going to use my own finger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, while you're doing that, let's talk about...
Oh, dear.
So, in humans, it's said that there's 4 types of pheromones.
It doesn't smell
Does it?
bad.
Oh, I did not like it.
Really? But I'm not a good smelling person anyway. I have to force myself to smell things. To me, it smells like a oil of some sort. What's wrong with that?
Your stuff. Smell my finger.
We look like
Oh, that is
sweaty-
gross. I don't like it at all.
I don't mind it. I really
Oh,
don't dislike
I
the
don't-
smell of that. It smells like a perfume to me.
Does anybody feel like their luteinizing hormone is pulsating right
So
now?
a luteinizing hormone, that's basically triggers ovulation.
In women, yes.
Okay, what does it do in men?
Well, it's...
And we're basically men. I figured that out already when we did our hand
it's
ratio.
a precursor to another hormone that releases testosterone in men. However, the studies show that in women, if you put this on your lips, it will increase the luteinizing hormone pulsation by about 20%.
Which means what?
You're going to start ovulating.
Doubt it.
Oh.
Maybe not. Let's move on.
That's totally, it's not something we're going to prove today.
No.
I'm really disappointed in this.
No,
Yeah.
but your cycles might be a little bit off this month.
I
Great.
don't have a cycle. We
Well,
talked about this. This is a waste of time.
Yeah.
It didn't smell
And
that
I
bad.
don't know.
Got-
Given your finger ratio, your testosterone levels might shoot up
Soar.
right now.
Great.
Now we just have sweaty looking lips. Thanks, Scott.
I'll make sure to make an appointment with my wax person.
So what is the claim for this, though?
All right. This is supposed to be like an aphrodisiac. It's supposed to
For
make
women?
you. Yes, so if I put it on me, you guys would somehow be more attracted to me. But
It's like a perfume, though.
I don't think it smells good.
I actually thought it smelled fine. I didn't dislike it.
Now that it's not so strong, because I smelled it right out of the bottle. It was way too strong. Now that it's just on my upper lip, it's not terrible, but it's not something I would prefer a man wear.
Well, you become nose blind, right? Your
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your olfactory fatigue is kicking in.
Right.
So we've digressed way too much.
Yeah.
Talking
So,
about hormones.
Back to
Not
hormones.
hormones.
Then.
We're
What
talking
they
about
are.
pheromones.
Yeah.
So it's recognized there's 4 types of
What are we
pheromones.
talking about?
I just want to see you guys ovulate. Anyways, so it's recognized as 4 types, right? Because what is a pheromone, right? The definition is so broad. So there's a primer pheromone, which supposedly causes a specific endocrine or neuroendocrine reaction within the receiver's body. So
Yeah.
one example is it's just known that there's certain hormones in male mice urine that will change the menstrual cycles in female mice. So that would be an example of a primer. There's a releaser hormone, which this is the one everybody talks about, or the releaser pheromone, which causes a behavioral reaction in the opposite sex. So this is the one that most researchers think this isn't going to be in humans. So that true thing where you put this on and now all of a sudden you're super attracted to that person. Probably not in humans, but it is the first known pheromone was a releaser pheromone, bambacol. Bombacol in 1959, it was shown that female silk moths release this, and the male silk moths will then follow that trail and find the female to mate with. And so that's a releaser pheromone. Another one, signaler pheromone. So that one is just informational. It gives you information about the person. So there's been tons of studies out there that sweat from people who are scared or fearful or nervous will smell different than the sweat if they're not. And so one of the studies was they took sweat from men who watched, or men and women who watched scary movies, and then they had them watch comedies, and people were able to detect the difference in the smell.
Oh, how do you collect that? You just like tissues under your armpits and wring them out?
That is exactly what they do.
Oh, that's so gross.
They stick cotton swabs underneath their armpits, or they just take the t-shirt, one of the two. Anyway, so that's a signaler pheromone. The other one is a modulator pheromone, where it influences mood or emotion. There is a molecule we'll talk about here in a little bit that women have subjectively said it makes them feel more focused when they smell it.
Yeah.
So that would be an idea of a modulator pheromone.
Well, and I guess my heartache is when they're saying that, it doesn't take place in humans, maybe not necessarily like it does in animals, is that I feel like smells in general greatly affect people. Like you can smell, like the smell of cilantro, like makes me happy. Like it smells really good, and it's, so it's funny to me that they're saying that it doesn't work, because I feel like...
Well,
I actually have saved my grandpa's cologne bottle.
Yeah.
Because he was notorious. Like, you would give him a hug and you'd smell like him the next day, like your clothes would still.
Yeah.
But
He
it
was
was
one of the
never.
over-cologne
He
people?
was, but it was a nice smell, so it wasn't
Yeah.
too overbearing. I mean, sometimes it was.
Right.
But you're like, you must have saw grandpa last night.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but every once in a while will smell and like brings me right back.
Right.
Like,
Well, and that's one of the bigger, I guess, complaints of some researchers is it really a pheromone, or is it really just a reaction to smells?
Okay.
Because who knows? And so to dive into that one, we got to get in a little more specifics of the science. So what would be the thing that would release the pheromone? Well, in the normal animal kingdom, they have the scent glands. Pretty similar to how our apocrine and eccrine glands, those are our sweat glands, and our sebaceous glands, which is the glands that secrete the oil onto your skin. It's very similar to how these scent glands in mammals work. And there's type of proteins called lipocalin proteins that help bring these steroid molecules to the surface of the skin in mammals, and our bodies work the same way. And the four types of molecules that we've identified as possible pheromones in humans all get carried to the surface the same way. So the evidence says that at some point natural selection said we did produce pheromones, but then if you're going to produce it, you have to receive that some way. How is the other person going to get that?
Right.
And so in the animal kingdom, vemeronasal organ is the name of the organ
I saw that.
in the animal kingdom that allows them to sense. It has receptor sites in there, and it allows the animals to then sense the pheromone, as it were. In humans, only about 90% of humans have that, and the ones that do, there is no active receptor sites on it, and there's no connection to the brain. It's just this vestigial organ that's there, that's just a grouping of cells that doesn't actually work.
But don't we have them as fetuses? Like, don't they atrophy by birth?
Oh, so yes, they do. So,
Okay, yeah. I read that and thought it was really cool, because I was like, oh, that actually kind of interests me then about the connection or the abilities of a fetus in utero, and I don't know. Anyway, carry on.
Well, no, it's very, and so this is one of the, trying to nail down, do humans produce pheromones?
Did you see the excitement in his face when I said something smart? He was like, oh, there's hope.
I will not be making any of those comments this episode.
I just did us both a solid there, April. We're good for the rest of the show. He's going to give you a
So
chocolate.
many jokes. Good job.
Very good, Jen.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, so in fetus, it does, you can get this area, this VNO is what we'll call it, these receptors that do work, but then the gonadotropin hormone that kind of differentiates people between male and female will actually kind of migrate down the nerve and then kill off that nerve, and now the VNO doesn't work anymore, so adults, it doesn't work. So then how do adults sense pheromones? And
So if somebody was born a hermaphrodite, would they keep that intact?
That is a good question. I think we should do a study.
I'm on a roll.
I don't know. Any hermaphrodites out there want to enroll in a study?
Banana slugs. They're
They are
hermaphrodites.
hermaphrodites. Hey,
Fun
Frog!
fact.
Who says you're not going to say something?
Look at
What
us.
is a banana slug compared to a normal slug?
They're yellow.
Yeah, the big
That's
yellow
why they're
ones.
called banana
They're
slugs?
huge.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
big.
think I've ever seen one.
I've
Then.
eaten
What?
two.
Oh, gross.
Seriously, for a dare.
Ugh.
$100 a pop.
Really?
What?
I didn't know
200
until
bucks?
yeah, but I didn't know until later how sick I could get from it.
Did you get sick?
No, but I found out later that people die from it.
But you made $200. You're good.
Yeah,
And you didn't die.
I didn't.
Did not die, if you recall.
Anyways,
So how do humans then, receive this signal? Most people think it's in your olfactory epithelium. We did an episode once on, going nose blind. So,
right.
if you want to know more about that, go to that. But so that's, where any researcher says that if you're going to sense the pheromones, that's probably how we're doing it. But then what are these pheromones that we are somehow producing to be released? And the four known types are all steroid molecules: androstenone, androstenol, androstadionone.
Oh
I
gosh,
don't know
they
if I
can
even
branch out a little with the
pronounced
names.
Well, they're all steroids,
Yeah,
so
right.
andro. And then the last.
Silly.
And then the last one is estrotetraenol. I can't pronounce that one.
Yeah.
Super long. It's an estrogen molecule.
Okay.
So each one of these are the ones that we think are probably going to inhibit or make some sort of reaction in people. So do we actually produce those in our sweat? So ironically, somebody then did study that and said, what's in our sweat? So most of the time, most of what's in your sweat is called E3-methyl-2-hexanoic acid. And we produce that about 357 nanograms per microliter in your sweat. And in men, the concentration of that acid compared to others is about 10 to 1. And in women, though, it's different. It's about 16 to 1. So men and women sweat differently. In men's sweat...
And that makes sense to me, because have you gone into, and I'm asking April because she's a female, gone into a room after a man's been sleeping, like a small room, and it smells like sweaty boy, but you'll
Yeah.
go into a room after a female's been sleeping and it's not really notable.
That's true. My teenage son's room was horrid.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I've had both
My
girls
son,
and
yeah.
boys, teenagers, but also from work, like
Yeah.
you'll walk in after, someone's been in there for hours sleeping and it just smells like sweaty boy. And it's not the same with females.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
the sweat is
I do
different.
notice.
Yeah.
The one, so the hormone actually released in men's sweat, the androstenone, you guys are now recipients of that, is only about 0.5 nanograms per microliter, so that is like 700 times less than the actual acids produced. So you're not producing very much of that steroid hormone. The Z isomer for that E3M2H acid, men produce that, like I said, 10 to 1, women 16 to 1. But women don't produce androstenone in their sweat, they produce androstenol. That's kind of how we think that maybe at one point in the history of us that might be the molecule being released. But what you're putting on your lips to cause that reaction in females is 1,000 times greater than a guy could produce on their own.
Oh.
So it's not like that's natural, that's synthetic.
Where did you purchase this from?
Lover's package, as a matter of fact.
Okay, because I was just curious. A lot of times you get saddled with getting the products and stuff before filming. So I wondered what kind of creep you felt like going in and purchasing. I didn't know this is like the gas station, on the counter.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
if
here's
you-
what I love about
Packs.
Lover's package is that lady, she's all business, right?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, what are you looking for? Cool. So if you do
Did
this...
you go, I have a podcast. This is
So-
for a friend.
I actually, at some point, I did...
Or were you
meant-
honest and did you say, I'm going to make a couple of women stick this on there?
So funny story. She was
"Creeper."
telling me all the different types that I could get that causes these different
And what
reactions
made you
in
buy
women.
this one?
I looked at the ingredients and I needed the androstenone. So
Okay.
that one has it in it.
Okay.
But so I was looking at the ingredients, and she was like, well, this one does this and this one does that, and I'm like, well, that one doesn't have it and that one doesn't have that. And so finally I mentioned the podcast, but I'm like that guy.
Yeah.
It's for a friend,
Right,
you know.
right.
Like, but either way, she was all business, and
But the way you talk, she was probably like nerd creeper.
Yeah, he needs this.
Yes. Let's help him. 50% off today.
Wouldn't it be funny though? I was thinking about this last night. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, "What if we did it?"
Because you're excited about this episode.
I was.
Okay.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, "What? It would be so funny if we all did emit a pheromone that put us into a full-blown ostrich mating dance.
Start
Just
dancing.
walk by and you just start doing like,
How do you know ostriches have a mating dance?
I know. Or did you
I
just
looked
make...
it up.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I've never thought about that.
I know
but...
nothing about ostrich mating, but
It's
apparently
pretty
there's a
funny.
dance. What does it go like?
She already did it. She just did it.
I just wanted to see how many
throw
times.
their head back.
There is a, like, I think pheromones that are used kind of more widely. And so I brought some in for you guys to smell.
Oh, I'm nervous.
No, you just have to smell.
Well, is this
Oh,
an animal one?
Yeah.
Well, animals are known. It
Yeah.
works.
I'm
I'm nervous.
Is
breaking.
it just pee?
Are we about to smell urine?
You're acting
Yeah,
like you
I'm
don't want to trust me.
I
I don't trust you.
Just smell it.
Okay, from
smell
the,
it
from
first.
squeezing that like
I'm not gonna squeeze it. I'm just holding it
Can
because I'm
I-
peppering the label.
Okay, I'll just,
Okay, don't look.
Ooh, that's not good.
God damn it.
Oh, I see. That's
I
awesome.
think I got some on my hand.
Oh my god.
That's horrible. That's cow elk estrus.
God.
It's used for hunting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it brings in
Does your
the
husband
wolf.
put that on him when he goes hunting?
Well, probably.
You're supposed to
I'm
spray it on
assuming.
you to hide your own
Well,
scent or
And
bring
actually,
things in.
you can like
Ooh.
purchase wolf urine and stuff for the same purpose. Like we put it around the perimeter of our property to keep coyotes and stuff out. It works.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
It's gross.
I know. I knew it was gonna be gross. I just wanted you guys
I'm just
to smell
picturing
it.
like a hunter putting that on them, and then all of a sudden, like an elk is creeping up behind him, and they don't see it, and all of a
Well,
sudden, boom.
I think it's more like
Animal
you
raping.
put, like you have little like wafer type things, like foam things you can stick to your clothes or you know.
Well, yeah, because does that wash off easily? Hopefully.
I don't know.
I,
I'm not big into the.
You brought it in.
I know, but I just wanted you guys to smell urine. Not because I'm well versed in it. Oh, so back on track.
Yeah. What are we talking about now?
Well, I guess one of the questions that I had when I was kind of studying it is that this is kind of an April random fact, but it said that in some mammals, certain species, when they are newly pregnant, and I don't know how far along, depending on probably the animal, if they are introduced to another male's certain hormones or pheromones, they will spontaneously abort. Did you read that?
I did not read that one, but it doesn't surprise me.
It just seems horribly creepy to me, and I don't know which animal they're talking about, but it's almost like the body's like, oh, that's a better offer.
Yeah.
Start over,
Delete.
Yeah. And so what I wondered from that then is that the bear, let's just say it's a mouse, that happens to mice, and they're, like very, I'll call it undeveloped brain compared to a human.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that maybe humans don't have that same response necessarily, but maybe we do respond to pheromones, but we also have the ability to cognitively think about things so if you came in with a certain pheromone that as an animal would be super attractive and all you're worried about is mating and eating and sleeping, but with a human you're like, okay, there's something attractive about him, but I hate that he drinks Bud Light.
Yeah.
So you're not a suitable mate, I'm going to move on. Does that make sense to you, what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, and that's the other idea behind some of the researchers out there saying that, sure, yes, humans probably do produce pheromones,
For
but
the record, I don't. Just
but our-
Bud Light. But anyway.
You're a Corona fan, we know this.
I know.
But they do say that our frontal lobes and, our ability to think and, the laws that prevent us from doing
Right.
certain things will prevent us from actually reacting to these pheromones. So is that part of it too? Who knows? But I would say the closest thing that's been proven out there to say, yes, humans do respond to pheromones is babies will, when they smell the scent of their mother's nipples, will start suckling and move towards that scent even when they're sleeping. And that's been shown quite a few times in quite a few studies, so there's something there.
April.
So,
recently ingesting another woman's breast milk. If
yes.
we brought that guest in here, blindfolded you,
would you just move towards it? Oh.
Unfortunately, and no offense to this guest, I just might gag.
She walks in the room, you're like,
if we ever have an event where we get together, she's gonna give you like a hug, and you're just gonna start.
Well, do you remember the craving episode we did, and the women who were given just rancid protein drinks after a while began to crave that?
That's true.
So you just need to drink more.
No, that ruined like any type of. I drink my coffee black normally. But every once in a while, especially holiday season, I like to put eggnog in my coffee for a little treat.
Yeah.
I had to dump out 2 cups of coffee after that episode because it was so, like, there was something in it that just tasted off and I couldn't drink it.
So you texted us when that was happening. It gave us both a good chuckle because you were like, great, now my eggnog season is ruined. And the funny thing is, I do the same thing. During Christmas, I'll put a little eggnog in my coffee. And after you sent me that, I didn't taste the breast milk, but when I was trying to drink coffee with eggnog, I was like, ugh, poor April.
Power of suggestion.
Horrible.
This is pheromones in general when it comes to humans, right? We appear to have the same ability to produce pheromones that the animal kingdom does. We don't have the same way to receive it that the animal kingdom does. There's tons of studies that say there's all of this anecdotal evidence that says, yes, we do have some sort of reaction, but no one's ever been able to nail down specifically this molecule will cause that reaction every time. So at the end of the day, yes, it probably works, but no one can prove it.
So that's really not defining.
No, we gave no one answers.
But again, it still kind of leads way to whatever works for people. So if the poor gentleman that's looking for love wants to attempt this and maybe he has a good result, does it really matter?
No, then it worked, right?
Right. Or if somebody likes the smell of it or it makes them feel more confident, then I guess that's good.
Because placebo effect is a thing.
Have you guys seen that comedy Grown Ups? It's the one with like Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and so there's where all the families go to like the water park and all the women are together and there's that like guy across the pool and he's super ripped and handsome and he's like flexing for them, so all the ladies are like showing off their bikinis. He finally comes over and again visually he's super attractive and then he talks and he's this really high pitched, hey ladies, and they're all like done.
Well, and there was a study done in 2004 that for men with apparently women with higher octave voices are significantly more attractive. During ovulation, women tend to produce more estrogen, which raises the pitch of their voice, which for men could provide an unconscious indication of fertilization.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, subjective again.
Well,
But I also had a friend who was in radio who said one of her class said to raise your voice when you're talking or talk a little squeaky or like to be more
attractive,
quote unquote feminine or something.
Well, not to get too graphic,
She
but
hated
if you're in one of those motel rooms that doesn't have, thick walls and you hear a certain noise coming from the other, you know what's happening in the other hotel room.
Right.
And it is a higher pitched thing, at least in my experience.
You need to stay in some higher class hotels, like if that's a regular issue for
anywhere. And my husband thinks I'm such a creep because immediately I like put my ear to the wall. I think
that is creepy. That is creepy. That is creepy.
Do you ever get in the competition?
I don't know if I buy that though, because like think about like the sultry voices and like the Jessica Rabbit or the like I don't know if the high pitch thing is really necessarily, or if it's more like the intonation and the.
Well, and I think this goes back to what you were saying, that it's a combination of all of it, because all the researchers that I could see say that one of the reasons why we probably can't define it is because humans use more of their senses to define any given thing, versus the animal kingdom where they use their olfactory senses a lot more than we do. And they're not necessarily seeing around objects, and they're not necessarily, hearing things the same way. So they use that more, so it's a little more enhanced, as
Yeah.
it were.
Sure.
Well, and probably a combination of things too, because you think sometimes if somebody's starting to date someone and, initially they seem great, they're interesting and all of that, then you get closer to them, physically closer, sitting, holding hands, whatever, and you start...
And they have body odor?
No, I mean the opposite.
Done.
No, the opposite. So then you become more attractive to them. So what if initially the first date, the person is okay, but like the third date, now that you've gotten to know them better and maybe actually kind of the smell of them or their pheromones, you actually are like, oh, they're actually super cute.
Or is it the, oxytocin that gets released when you do skin touch, and that's
Oh
the
gosh,
thing.
it's gonna make this way harder than I meant to. Bring up more science, why don't you? Well, good. Well, if you liked what you heard or saw today, check us out on YouTube or our podcast.
Or visit our website, medicalconfessions.com.
I don't think I can say
it's-
that on the show.
Sure you can.
Bloopers. It's kind of nice that there's a cock in front of me.
Well, I'm
Like-
blocking this one because Dave was like, this is like a big penis on your guys' table.
Yeah.
You're getting cock blocked. Oh, we're recording right now? Shit.
Well, as soon as, yeah.
My
I hit the record button a while ago.
inappropriate comments, my behind the scenes inappropriateness. I'm only proper
Yeah, you
when the
act
camera's
all proper when we're...
only proper when the camera's
Oh, I'm
on.
getting so nervous.
I'm all-
I feel dirty.
There is a point where I cross over. I'm like, oh, it's too much.
I just want to see you guys ovulate.
Nerd creeper.
I just want to see you guys ovulate.
Nerd creeper.
I just want to see you guys ovulate.